Dragons take it away, and they get a kill onto Panatom, and now the Warriors have to figure something out. But Net, he dies off, you get Mike, but at what cost? Nika now chasing down Pagon. The rest of the Dragons coming through. Stuns have to be good. Pagon's damage is right there. Sot helps pick up Vote. Double kill for the solo laner, and they've got to turn that attention elsewhere. Jake doing everything he can to keep his mid laner alive, and he's doing a lot of work. Helps keep him go. Triple kill for Sot, and he's going to continue this chase.
Those predictions.
I don't think I've ever seen a Dragons number that low.
Yep, that is, and unfortunately for the Dragons, that is probably a fair estimate. Given the Oni Warriors track record and the J Dragons, how they've been playing. But I do think, the man on your screen before, Mike does have the power to change that. I think, Sylvanas can play at such an aggressive level if he's able to. He's not on one of those immobile mages.
It's all about the pulls, right?
It's all about the pulls. You're darn right in this case. Just trying to get active as early as possible.
Well, he's already, aggressive. Look, if you want to jump on someone, it's the Aphrodite. Jake is getting a little low. Does walk away from this one. The healing, not a lot early on, but enough at this point. Some good poke from Netroid in terms of retaliation. And that's going to be the dangerous zone for Jake, especially if a pull like that happens. Good damage from the Hachi. But again, able to walk away from this Netroid. Free firing for a little bit now, taking a little bit too much. Might need some help. He goes in, he gets the autos, and he gets first blood as well. Forces Mike to back off. What a play from Netroid.
You got to watch out for those auto attack cancels, especially with the dash. It's just so much damage. And Netroid said, yeah, awesome Jake's weak, sure. But I'm full HP. I've got birds. I've got plenty of damage, and that's going to be an easy first blood there. And unfortunately for Vote, he was close, but they don't have the anti-heal. They don't have any sort of damage to trade back, and CERN just wins that 1v1. He just has way more early damage.
I'm going to be honest. With the way those fights were going, I was not expecting first blood to happen that quickly. I was thinking it was going to be a lot of poke on supports, or someone was going to die. It was going to be the Afro. Well played by Net. War Flag picked up here by Mike. So not only is it a different god that we're seeing, a different start that we're seeing, compared to everything else. Like Tainted Steel with all the healing makes sense for the solo laners. Jake's just going the standard build. Why War Flag here?
I'm a big fan of the War Flag.
All right.
I think it's a little slept on. The reason you're picking it up is if you have some of those auto attackers on your team, that extra movement to that extra attack speed really helps out. And in this case, you've got Lasbra on the Bakasura. Of course, you've got Vote in lane, who's already going to be getting some attack speed with the new buffs to Hachiman.
Yeah.
The issue, of course, is you're losing a bit of value later on because of heroism. Those give immense value. The auras are very strong right now, so unfortunately, the buff to your team is not as impactful as the protections or the shielding that can come later on.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking Mike was really hoping for a first blood, which could have snowballed that game in their favor, which is why they got the horrific emblem and just walked at Awesome Jake early on. But because you fall down, you'll lose some of that pressure. You're going to be wishing that you had that heroism or the Sentinel's Embrace later on. Those extra aura protections that are so strong right now.
Those prots, like you said, that can be absolutely insane late game for just keeping your team alive. If you share them, always a beautiful, I guess, moment for a support. It's so weird when you feel like your impact is I made you not die.
Yeah.
And so that was my goal, and able to make it. Another one that got buffed coming into this week, something that I was wondering if we were going to see, but let's see if I can say it properly.
You got this.
The Cannoneer's Cuirass.
There you go.
That's how I would pronounce it.
I'm waiting for the question. I know it's
coming. Yeah, right. Locked in for Jake. How do you like this? I feel like we've talked about it a little bit, but what are your thoughts on it?
I'm also a big fan. Lane pressure is so important. Just being able to absolutely destroy the big minion every time it comes through. It saves a lot of time on clear, and you can focus on fighting. So I think a good buff. And
so for the Warriors.
Yeah, exactly. it fits the Warriors playstyle so well, and it's one of those items that if you're going to be getting it on a support, you're going to try to get that lane pressure. Of course, Mike is actually going to match it and finish it around the same time. Because I think if one person gets it, the other support sort of is forced into it, or you're just losing that lane pressure. But also, it's just fun. If you've ever seen a support try and kill the big minion, it takes them a solid a minute just to auto it down. But no longer. When you've got Cannoneer's Cuirass, that's never how I said it, but I think yours is better. It's just, an insta-kill, and it's just nice.
I could feel you putting some emphasis on a word that maybe we shouldn't on broadcast.
Yep, and I think once you said it out loud, I was like, that's definitely the way I'm going to go from now on.
No, you mentioning it, the support pain of clearing like a wave.
Yep.
I have in games, especially when my brain kind of shuts off after like your third, fourth, fifth in a row. I will walk up to like the green buff and just fight for 5 minutes, be half health by the green buff, lose all my mana in the cycle, and then just back again. Like I walked straight from base there. So maybe something that PBM and Jake are going to hopefully offset here. I doubt they're going to be soloing any buffs though. And it slowed down. I thought we were going to see a lot more over here. I'm waiting for that one drop. The one thing Sylvanas brings that I'm personally a huge fan of is that instant fight, and it's going to be in mid instead. Lasbra jumps under the tower. Pagon's low, and Pagon turns it around. He makes you look like a clown, shuts him down, and keeps himself alive. That is 2 kills for the Warriors, and both times it felt like the Dragons had the upper hand.
Okay, well, first of all, you're a poet and you didn't know it, but that Aegis pickup goes wild there for Pagon. I saw the Aegis early on, and I was like, wow, he might need the beads for the cripple goo for that amount of, he wants to flicker away. Doesn't matter. The Aegis buys him just enough time, and Lasbra, he wasn't able to eat a minion, goes down and survives underneath the tower at essentially 1 HP, and there was just no help. Dardes could not provide the extra damage. That's a huge kill, and I guess a dropped moment there from the Jade Dragons. Could have been a guaranteed kill if just one more auto attack comes through. At the very least, Dardes was able to get a little bit of farm. He's going to be a little bit more ahead XP-wise, but Pagon getting that gold. That's a huge shutdown. That really hurts because Lasbra wanted to get off to a good start. Of course, Phantom goes Transcendence. That tells me this Daji not looking for ganks early on, just wants to farm. And Lasbra's like, oh, that's good. I'm going to look for some ganks. I'm going to try and get active. And dropping that really puts Panatom in a great position as well.
And I want to watch it back because when we click in and we jump over there, I think we have the replay. Pagon, he gets jumped on. I mean, he's already just 1 hit away here. But it's that choice, that Aegis instead of a beads. That really helps out. The tower also helps out a good chunk. I mean, Trelly, it's a small relic choice, but that Aegis goes huge.
Yep, and I think, look at all the CC on the side of the Jade Dragons, by the way. It's not like you don't have to worry about Nika's pull. It's not that you don't have to worry about the stuns from Dardes or the cripple goo, as mentioned, from Lasbra. Pagon has said, hey, they've got a lot of burst, and this is going to go a long way here. So he decides to start it, and it ends out paying huge because you get to live that gank, you put Lasbra behind, and it doesn't, you can't see it on paper, but Panatom gets a big boost off of, number one, Lasbra dying there, but how much farm Panatom was able to take away in the meantime, especially when you start Transcendence. He just wants to farm for the time being, and the Oni Warriors, they're going to farm a Gold Fury. There's no one even here. This is free.
Look, this is the pace of game they've been setting. They've asked who can meet us here. And they've seen a couple of teams try, right? The Ravens have picked up their pace of game as well. The Dragons, this phase, longest average game time, and flat out just some of the longest games we've had, period.
The Oni Warriors?
And the Warriors are going to vibe check them here, at least it feels like with that Gold Fury.
And the Oni Warriors, the complete opposite. The shortest games. I mean, we saw, what, a 14-minute Fire Giant as Vogue gets his ultimate force. And I'm thinking we're on pace to see a situation like that, and to be fair, the gold lead does not implicate that at all. It's not massive. 1,000 gold, you wouldn't be like, oh, 14-minute FG. But the Warriors don't need that much space, as shown just then. They need a little bit of vision, and they're down to go for these 50-50s. And unfortunately for 7 other teams in the league, it usually ends up Warriors.
7 minute in for a Gold Fury is already, honestly, just in this day and age, that's an absolutely insane pace. And so now, I mean, it's really weird. They've stripped away the neutral objective to talk about. Pyromancer's not going to be here for another couple of minutes. And so maybe it's going to be Aggression. Dragons needing to look for a fight that goes their way, right? The duo lane, First Blood falls apart. Now maybe they can get something. Pagon gets the red buff. Looking for some burn damage. Aegis goes huge again. Knock up great from Mike. This time, though, they've got the secure. But can they get away? That's a bigger deal. Lasbra pulled in. Easy kill for Panatom in the chase down onto PBM. Has the rotation from SoloOrTroll. Will they get the CC in time? Panatom uses the dash to close gap. A little bit of a stop measure from Jake to make sure Mike goes a different path. Get some more DPS in. But a great stun from Dardes. Better stun from Jake. That's going to finally let them put that tree in the ground. get themselves a 4th kill.
Yep. Unfortunately for Pagon, there's a few fancy plays you can make underneath tower, but when 3 decide to dive you at red buff, and again, you don't have those beads, they were like, hey, we need this kill. Like, we are forcing this. It's not going to be worth it, but we just need to get something going. Lasbra gets his first kill of the game. Unfortunate for Dardes, was not able to help try and zone out Panatom. He's like, hey, Mike, maybe I can step up. Maybe I can provide some CC, but Jake walked up and said, nope, I'm going to make sure this kills go through. And a clutch rotation from SOT on the Guan Yu just to make sure that kill goes through. So the Jade Dragons are on the board. But the question now becomes, can you do that again? Can you look to try and gank Pagon before he gets access to beads? Now that Awesome Jake is here, he's not going to need him. He's got Undying Love, and that kiss should be just enough to make sure he stays alive. Woo. Jake gets pulled in, but I don't think they've got enough damage to even look at this Aphrodite. So much gold. I mean, you got the full sickle, working out, assuming a breastplate of regrowth. This Aphrodite is going to be a menace.
A little nerve-wracking. 10 minutes in, I saw a couple of warriors on the right-hand side in the Fire Giant pit, and it gives me pause, right? Just because of what we've seen from this team. No, they're playing it smart instead. It's a stun onto Dardes, Panatom, and Jake caught out by Nika. It's a 4v3. Panatom's taking a lot of damage here. You had mentioned it, that Undying Love used to get Panatom out, but it's not enough, and that's a kill for the solo lane. Hercules now chasing him down, locking him up, and Jake's not going to be able to get away from this one. Good couple of kills, double kill for Nika. And that should lead into the Pyromancer.
Yep, 4v3. Pagon was not able to step up. Remember, his Aegis was pulled earlier. Great play by the Jade Dragons. They knew exactly when they were able to win that fight. And now Pyromancer goes down for free. And they will be able to grab a Runic Bomb. This time Lasbra able to pick it up. And this is sort of the way you got to stop the Oni Warriors. You have to find a pick and then use that to your advantage. Because Pagon had to go back to base, because he didn't have relics, he's gone. You take a 4v3 over near FG. That's going to help you out to get the objective after. But now the Oni Warriors have that timer on the Oni Fury. That's going to spawn in here shortly. And they're not just going to let that go unnoticed. They will be there on respawn. And Netroid and Panatom have already started up the DPS. Dardes is nearby, but he's not even a step up. It's another free one for the Oni Warriors.
And honestly, I don't blame the Dragons. The shred the Warriors just had on Fury at 11 minutes, I mean, that was insane.
Xe goes a long way.
And you had mentioned not just the Xe, but now what that's going to provide, right? The Gold Fury earlier gives them a nice little boost, but this Fury, the Oni Fury, going to give them some of the minion wave strength that they maybe need to put some pressure on the map. Overall, 1,800 gold, 1,500 experience in favor of the Warriors, 12 minutes in. The last couple of kills, and specifically getting that Pyromancer as well for the Dragons, makes a huge difference. I mean, that dip is massive. Otherwise, we're talking about a 3,000 gold lead right now.
Yep, and in this case, I think the Jade Dragons are going to have to play a little passively for the time being. Tier 1 tower being looked at. It doesn't seem like Vogue can step up to body block those autos, so that will go down in favor of the Warriors. My question now becomes, when does Sot rotate out? He's very strong right now with the Transcendence finished and plenty of physical defense. Really only Dardes is chunking this Guan Yu. And Nika has been pretty much left alone in lane, right? He gets that beautiful rotation, fights at Pyromancer, able to grab 2 kills, but hasn't really went over to any objective fights because there haven't been any, right? The Gold Furies have been given up for free. The Jade Dragons have not really been there to try and defend. And I think that this Hercules could be a pretty massive boon in strength during these fights. There's a lot of less than tanky characters, Panatom, Pagon, and Netroid, that really wouldn't like the mean end of a driving strike at this point in the game.
When you had talked about Jake, and at this point, the level lead, the gold lead, and you were right on the money. Breastplate of regrowth built in. Got the shell as well, since he just hit 12. And that's something, you know, we haven't touched on it as much lately. It feels like the supports have been able to kind of keep at least level around 12. Having that 2-level lead, not just the gold and the item difference, but that second relic actually going to help out immensely, especially for someone like Aphrodite.
Yep, usually it's, hey, they popped Horrific, I'm going to pop my Horrific as well, and then we're just going to sit here very slow, but add a shell into the mix, and that really can change the dynamic of a team fight, especially with a character like Bakasura, who needs those auto attacks, doesn't have much attack speed built in just yet. He's working towards it. Lasbra wants to get those Butcher Blades and those kin size procs as much as possible, but the Horrific Emblem really does slow it down, and the shell starts to add up as well. So the Oni Warrior is still in a commanding position on the map. It looks like just farming for the time being. We mentioned the possibility of early Fire Giants whenever the Oni Warriors are here, but they don't have too much damage, and they don't have enough of a lead. I still think Nika is a big threat. You know, that boulder can be disastrous, and it does take a long time to chew through a Fire Giant, especially when Netroid's got 2.5 items to his name, working on a kin size there. No crit. You're not gonna be doing a Fire Giant in a couple seconds this time around. It's just too early.
The Warriors, breakneck pace in terms of objectives. They've kind of pumped the brakes on some of the kills. Granted, 2 of the kills that happened, they weren't even trying for. They just kind of came to them. With the Pyromancer spawning in soon, definitely feels like a big objective for the Dragons to try and step up to. Ward coverage right now from the Warriors, though, relatively deep on the right-hand side, keeping things a little more interesting. Looking towards the builds, you had mentioned the Executioner early on for Netroid. It's directly into the chin size for Vote, and then chin size for Netroid. So he's got the full tier 3 up over the tier 2. Not only that, Vote going a completely different route. Do you think this is going to, well, I guess we can see it. It does affect how much damage and how much shred they have on these objectives, Trelly.
Yep, I think the switch up comes from the change up to Hachi's passive. You're getting extra attack speed. You've got the banner, so you don't really need the Xe. The dominance is just going to give you more power, and then you already get the inherent attack speed built into your kit, so you don't really need the Xe. At least that's the mindset here. Netroid's been rotating to these objectives and helping his team out, but he's been falling a bit behind XP-wise because of it. Vote doesn't have to leave. He's about a level and a half up just by nature of staying over on that left side of the map, but Lazara, he's deep in the enemy jungle, has to weasel his way out towards blue buff. But the Pyromancer drop, Gold Fury already spawned back in.
Yeah.
The only Warriors are uncontested so far, just stepping up to these objectives. Besides that one fight that the Jade Dragons did a fantastic job of starting, since then haven't decided to get aggressive. And remember, Mike was able to hit 12. Goes back, it's a full drowned Onk off back, so he's not going to be quite as tanky as Awesome Jake, but can stop some of that healing. And because of that, it's going to hurt a lot of what the Oni Warriors are trying to do.
Nika, maybe caught out here. Has to be careful. Netroid's damage is actually perfect for a Hercules here. I think Nika learns that, keeps himself healthy along with the help of PBM. Dardaz is over on the left-hand side of the map as well. So 4 Dragons. Technically 3 Warriors, since Pagon is going to do his red buff. Gold Fury, as you had mentioned, spawned in. And actually a little bit of a surprising turn of events. The Warriors are going to let this one lie. It probably has something to do with the fact that Sot just takes a tier 1 on right, continues pushing it down, keeping pressure on, right? That's what the team is doing right now, and even though it's maybe not overwhelming, it's those, not even death by 1,000 cuts. It's like death by 100 larger than small cuts.
Larger than small.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on. I don't know, man. I lost it halfway through, all right?
It's all right. I can, don't worry, I can follow that thread, and in this case, you're right. Because Sot split pushing, the Oni Warriors feel like they can just let this Gold Fury stand by for the time being. They don't need to make a pull. He's able to get so much farm. And Lazbra's over there. He's trying to get some farm as well. He's like, hey, if we're just letting these waves go, I'm going to make Nika the new jungler, and I'm just going to farm waves, try to get some itemization online, try and get an impactful ultimate once this Gold Fury fight actually starts up. But I'm thinking Net and Awesome Jake could just do the Gold Fury themselves. They've got plenty of damage, they got plenty of sustain. And it looks like I was right. They're going to start it up.
They're going to say, you know what, Trelly, that's a good idea.
But Vote's here.
Half health already.
Nope,
Vote,
I lied. You was scared.
Walked up, walked back. Well, and admittedly, when I saw the rest of the Warriors join the fray, I'd also run away from that site instantly.
Oh, yeah.
Pyromancer down, Gold Fury now towards the Warriors, means that Fire Giant's the only thing left, 18 minutes in. That's been the magic number over the last few years. The Warriors aren't going to be looking for that just yet. A pick would open the door for a Fire Giant conversation. Right now, they're going to be opening the door to the base. They're knocking down Tier 1 tower. Staying a little aggressive, looking for the Tier 2. Panatom hanging around just outside the lane. Nika actually teleporting in. I was thinking he was going to go for a loop around. Instead, walks in, eats a ton of damage. Burn, burn, burn. Netroid and Pagon, to frontliners, they're eating well.
Yep, a lot of damage. And because of that, Nika teleports in and goes, maybe this fight wasn't as good as we thought. No pulls. Mike and Nika had an opportunity to try and pull someone back in, but couldn't find it. Because of that, the split up is happening.
4,000 gold.
Yep, and it's only climbing. This is, again, this isn't a massive lead. It is still possible for the Jade Dragons to fight back in if they're able to find a split fight, a 4v5, something like that. But given the Oni Warriors' track record, there's a reason Netroid's not in left lane right now. He wants an opportunity to go for FG. They want to try and 50-50, or at the very least force a fight. Because the Jade Dragons are not so far behind, they're going to be pressured to try and defend. They're going to step forward, and that's when the Oni Warriors will try and strike. It really does lie a lot of pressure onto PBM and Nika, though. If they're able to find a pull, start the fight off early, maybe force an Undying Love from Awesome Jake, that could go in their favor. But it's just been so hard to hit this Afro. She's very slippery.
Safety. Walks around. Even
Goodness.
avoids the stun right there. Pagon can't quite say the same, actually. Half health.
Pagon's 2 levels up and just took so much damage.
Yeah, Agni absolutely slamming it right now. Bombs doing a lot. Pyromancer free because of the poke out. So the Dragons get a lot without having to get too much to start it off. And Trelly, that goes to show, and that's what I see these fights as right now, is a lot of this damage, especially from Dardes. But any poke that they can get out, massive. The Warriors, though, they're going to try to press the arena button like they did last week. Fire Giant, half health already. They're shredding it, and they're going to go for the 50-50. Boulder dropped. They're looking for Dragons. Take it away, and they get a kill onto Panatom. And now the Warriors have to figure something out. But Net, he dies off. You get Mike, but at what cost? Nika now chasing down Pagon. The rest of the Dragons coming through. Stuns have to be good. Pagon's damage is right there. Sot helps pick up Vote. Double kill for the solo laner, and they've got to turn that attention elsewhere. Jake doing everything he can to keep his mid laner alive, and he's doing a lot of work. Helps keep him go. Triple kill for Sot, and he's going to continue this chase. Lasbra over the wall gets him out of there. Jake looking for the link, but it is a 2v2 jungle and solo in support for either squad. Fire Giant left for Lasbra and Nika. And Trelly, we learned this last week with the Warriors. Sometimes they don't care about the objective, they care about the fight. This one goes roughly even.
Yep, in this case, SOT is an absolute menace. This Guan Yu is going to be a problem, but we're not able to keep the carries alive. Panatom dies before even going up into the powwow. If the fight was that even, and let's be honest, it was a little bit more Warriors focused towards the end, if Jake was able to link with SOT before that chase down ensued, Nika might have found himself dead because the cavalry charge was going to come back up by nature of cooldowns and the way that Guan Yu's kit works. So if the powwow comes through, that goes a lot more Warriors-sided. But the stolen objective means that the Jade Dragons are in the driver's seat for the time being. Or at the very least, they don't have to worry about the Oni Warriors driving. The Oni Fury certainly will go down here, probably in favor of the Warriors, unless the Jade Dragons want to step up. I'm looking at the relics. Not looking too good on either side, but definitely more Warriors-sided. Because Sot's going to have his Sunder up, he's going to have Teleport, Blink, and the Powwow still available for Panatom. And possibly a cutoff here. Vote and PBM are caught out.
Stun from Sot has to connect. He holds as long as he can, still finds it. Needs some damage follow-up. Won't be able to get that from his team. That being said, the tier 2 push, and specifically the damage onto Mike, seems to be insane. 2 TKOs. Vote, no relics to his name, no ult to his name. Now an open opportunity. Lasbra pushing down mid. Gets the tier 1 there. Has a minion wave with him. And Nika is going to spot out this Oni Fury. Question for the solo laner of the Dragons. What will he do? Step forward. Boulder's available. Has burst. Throws a little early. Warriors get the Fury, despite a really good bounce in favor of Nika.
I think Lasbra wins this 1v1. Panatom is just too far behind. Is he trying to dash in here? Would be risky, but it looks like the rest of the team is trying to cut him off. Lasbra's been split pushing, if you've noticed. Whenever the team's fighting, he's over in right lane, he's pushing down mid lane, getting lots of towers. The Jade Dragons are almost caught up in the gold department. That Fire Giant steal will certainly help, but it's been a lot of this Bakasura saying, hey, I'm going to go get level 20. Hopefully you guys don't need me. And because Dardes has been pumping out all these damage numbers and the stuns, things of that nature, the Jade Dragons have been able to claw back into a relatively even game coming into this next Fire Giant, which is going to be a big deal. I think that the growing issue, of course, is going to be SOT. The 4-0 Guan Yu, he went Transcendent, is doing so much damage, and I haven't seen his health bar drop much at all. The carries, of course, on the Oni Warriors are still a threat, but this Guan Yu is essentially 1v1ing anyone that doesn't have protections built.
And as upgraded starter, actually upgraded starter for quite a few members of the Warriors here. So maybe playing catch up on the Dragons, although balanced out by some upgraded starters that exist on the Dragons that don't exist for the Warriors. Little power spike. Speaking of power spikes, oh my god, Mike. Half his health gone in the blink of an eye. Pyromancer pulled by the Warriors. Boulder over the wall. Little too late there for Nika. But you have to admire the gumption from the Hercules. The Warriors are playing this, Trelly, the same way that they would be playing it if they had a 10,000 gold right now. They're just stepping up to the objectives, forcing a fight. And like you had mentioned, it's only a few hundred gold separating them. That Fire Giant power play, positive for the Dragons. pretty much only because of Lazarus' presence on the map. Gets the tier 2 in mid, clears out a few towers, as you had mentioned with the split push. Keeps things as close to even as he can. Now that they're both level 20, though, and you see the serrated edge finish for Panatom, 1v1s. If they are met in the jungle, does Bakasura still have the edge?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think Panatom is looking at, specifically Dardes, and maybe if Mike ults early. You don't want a 1v1 Bakasura. He's been split pushing for a reason. He wants to be the strongest 1v1 on the map. My issue, however, is how long is he going to be split pushing? Lasper's still over on left. Fire Giant's here. If you're going to get ahead, get all this farm, you got to use it in a team fight. So finally the Bakasura is rotating in from behind, but the Fire Giant started up and it's already half health.
Had to take it carefully. Didn't want to get spotted by the minions. Walks across one of his own wards. Fire Giant, as you mentioned, low. And there's going to be the polymorph. Doesn't confirm it. Warriors
Baka
able to
from
pick that
behind,
one
though.
up. And now they're looking for a lot of damage. Baka comes in from behind, but he's not going to find anyone as the flicker forward, the dash forward from Netroid gets him out of there, but finally gets some damage out there. But it's Sot one more time, Trelly. Double kill for him. Panatom goes in the back. Another triple for Sot as he keeps picking him up. Vote. Last man standing. Costs him 2 to get there. The Warriors get to continue running down mid.
I mean, you lose Netroid, so you don't have your ADC, but at this point, Sot's got back-to-back triple kills at these Fire Giant fights, and no one can kill this GUAN Yu. You still have Pagon, who's got enhanced auto attacks in the kit. This tier 2 tower certainly going to go down. How much more time do you have? I'm thinking Phoenix pressure could be on the mind here of the Oni Warriors. The question is, are you worried about how much damage Vote can do? I'm thinking probably not if SOT's here.
Jake steps forward, tanks a little bit, Vote. Like you said, what are you going to do? No relics, no ult, no presence around the Phoenix mid. Goes down towards the Warriors. And now they're going to back up, Trelly. Play it a little slower. Tier 2 on left and right still up. So they take the only Phoenix they're able to, strip away some of these camps. Primal Fury's about to be coming up. But more importantly, Netroid and Panatom are about to be up. And that's going to open up some opportunities for the Warriors to maybe knock on the door of a few more Phoenixes.
Yep. Primal Fury. 2 more tier 2 towers to go through, but
It's a lot of gold.
yep, it is a lot of gold to be spent. Plenty in pocket here for the 3 remaining members of the Warriors that actually have that Fire Giant buff. And it was a good rotation in. I mean, Lasper does get to the back line. He finds some kills, but unfortunately, it's not tanky enough to get enough damage. I think the dive of the Jade Dragons is lacking. This is sort of, I'm not going to say the hindrance of a Sylvanas. You just can't get to the back line, right?
Yeah.
There is value in just peeling, right? Saying, hey, I'm going to heal up my carries. I'm going to stay back. I'm not going to get that blink engage. We've got a Baka and a Herc for that. Because the Oni Warriors have so much dive with the Dashi, with the GUAN Yu, and of course, one of them being linked to an Aphrodite, it becomes a little bit more difficult to find those solo kills, or in this case, that amount of dive. But look at the Jade Dragons here. Grouped as 5 in the jungle. Panatom sort of just watching them for the time being. He knows someone's here. I don't think he realizes just how many Jade Dragons are about to gank him. Let's see if he can even get up into the Palau in time.
Doesn't seem to have the
Nope.
opportunity.
No, he cannot.
Oh, man, for the Dragons, maybe a little bit too much. You know, 1v1s, that's one conversation. 1v4, the Dragons looking pretty good. Starting to get aggressive towards the right side Phoenix. Playing it a little more cautiously. And Trelly, this is where things get interesting. I think it's two pieces of a conversation I want to have here. One is that a lot of these team fights have actually looked great for the Dragons until Sot. If you remove Sot from the equation, they're probably winning this game right now. The other half of that conversation is their sieges.
Yep.
We've seen a lot of sieges, whether they're ahead or behind, from the Dragons, that haven't looked too great. That have fallen, I mean, just flat on their face, really. You know, that's what has extended a lot of these games is their ability to knock down a Phoenix or even a tier 2 tower in some instances just hasn't stood up to what we're seeing from other teams in the league.
Gore, Sot's a confident man.
Yeah.
I would argue,
If he's 7-0, his ego's out of check.
I would argue an overconfident man at times. But he built Bloodforge. My man said, I got back-to-back triple kills. Those health shields would be pretty nifty. I'm going to make sure that I'm building.
I'm going to make it a Pinta next time.
Yeah, he's like, I want even more damage. And he even back. Nika went in for the pull, and Sot did not waver. Just held the back. And I want to see if he's able to get another triple kill at this point. Let's see those Bloodforge shields. The GUAN Yu has been a menace. These carries have not been able to stand up. Not to say that the carries of the Warriors have not also been dying. I mean, Pagon going negative. Netroid in that same spot. And, of course, we saw what happened to Panatom trying to stand up against the might of the Dragons. He hasn't been able to get up to the Palau twice now. But there is a Phoenix down still for the time being on the Jade Dragons. Lasbra's been able to push up the fire wave, but it's actually the Dragons stepping forward. They're going for a pull, but Nika, he's getting shredded by the damage of Netroid.
Yeah, half health already for the Warriors. Or sorry, for the Warrior, right? Nika has his teleport, so if he has to back, it's not the end of the world. Doesn't seem to be too worried about it, though. Healers on the squad always makes that a little easier. One more wave, I believe, of fire minions should be spawning here in mid. And that's what the Warriors have to work with. Panatom kind of hanging on the side. If he sees Dardes, might be able to go for
He's
something
gonna blink
here.
in. Yep.
Jumps in, blink, immediate half health onto the mid laner for the Dragons. That's going to be the pull
See
in,
ya.
the kill off. And starting things great for the Warriors. Panatom finally gets on that powwow and gets some work done. Netroid DPSing the Fire Giant while his team zones for him. It's a slow roll, Trelly, but they're looking for it. Speaking of looking for it right now, Lasbra
EFG too.
deep, enhanced on top of that. Lasbra's trying to get a Phoenix. He's going to back away. The Warriors with an enhanced Fire Giant should be able to push down mid, no problem. Very little resistance from the Dragons there.
Yep. Dardes tries to make a flank play, just not something an Agni can do. The 1v1 versus Daji is just miserable. If you get blinked in and get hit by that burn damage, you are losing every single time. And Dardes used both relics, could not survive. Mid-Phoenix once again will drop. Jade Dragons are in a position where they've got to try and defend Phoenix. They don't want to step up without Dardes, though. That's going to be 10 seconds away. A good pull from Mike. Could be enough to stop the siege, but it looks like the tier 2 tower goes down first. All the while, Lasbra still split pushing. He's got a chance to go for a wraparound play, but might be too little too late. This Phoenix is going down fast.
Yeah, mid already bursted. Right, gone in the blink of an eye. Mike might follow it stunned out thanks to Jake. The damage is there, but Sot eats a lot in the process. Hasn't got a kill, hasn't got that Bloodforge shield. A lot of the Warriors eating more damage than maybe they would like. Jake, single target healing, definitely struggles a little bit here. The Warriors are going to pull back. Sot even cancels his back, has the healing to maybe top off these carries. With the gold in hand, 2 Phoenixes down. Trelly, the Warriors are going to take a little breath. Oni Fury's up on left. There's still a tier 2 over there. They've got some work to do.
Yep, and they've got plenty of time at this point. The Oni Warriors are able to upgrade some relics, get some power pots, going for the Oni Fury, tier 2, Phoenix. The whole shebang. We know how this works. The Jade Dragons are more so interested in saving their Titan than they are trying to defend a tier 2 or that left side bird. It's just their engage is so difficult. We saw what happens when Mike gets left alone, and that's the curse of Sylvanas, right? If you're hitting a pull, you start with an ult, that's great. Wrath of Terra is a good engage tool, but without that blink ult, your team runs, and you're like, I'm a tree. Like, I actually cannot run with you. I'm just going to be left out to dry. There was almost some kill return, though. SOT, as you say, got very low. Was almost able to find a death in that column. But Panatom wants some more 1v1s. He's going to go into Lasbra. Let's see how much time he can stay here while the rest of the team groups up.
Get some of the powwow. Mike, Dardes around the corner. Pulls Lasbra.
Stun.
Stun from Dardes. Leap in from Lasbra. If he's looking to pull attention, he did exactly that. Sets up the left side Phoenix for his team, but is gone otherwise for a minute. 30 seconds left on the power play. Warriors knock down all 3 Phoenixes. Oni fire waves in 2 lanes, just Oni minions in the left. And maybe going for something massive here. Dash forward, Nika, Dardes, Mike, alone in the jungle. The melt is there, the damage is ready. And it's a slow burn, but they chop down the tree, turn their attention over towards the Hercules, but they lose Netroid, they get vote. Dardes goes down as well. Pagon is going massive in the fight, needs a little more damage, needs some help.
No
and he's
shot!
got it from Sot, they turn it, they get a triple, and Trelly, they're gonna end this one with a DSI. They got the fire minions in the Titan room. Game 1 goes to the Warriors.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Awesome Jake provided a lot of healing and a lot of sustain there for Pagon, but he's just built different. My man was juking left and right. He had so much stance switch. He did so much damage. Merlin should not be able to live that long.
No.
That was a 4v5 that, I mean, of course, was initiated by the Oni Warriors, but it just seemed like Vote had such a good ult. The Hachi